Okay, so let's make a start. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Let's get underway. So today's webinar will focus on taking you through SAP's Business Integrity Screening Tool, also known as BIS. If you haven't attended one of these sessions before, we do run them every month, and we often invite either an external guest to join our team, or we have one of our own consultants focus on a particular GRC theme or technology. So today I'm delighted to introduce Andreas Nissen from Turnkey, Germany, who's going to run through both an intro to BIS and he'll then demonstrate how it can be used in specific scenarios. So Andreas has been with Turnkey for 3 years, and prior to that he was with SAP for 5 years. Andreas is manager of new solutions at Turnkey, which obviously includes business integrity screening. So what he doesn't know about BIS is probably not worth knowing. So just before I hand over to Andreas, we will be running a short questions and answers session at the end of this webinar. So if you would like to submit a question, again, please use the chat or question section within your control panel. Okay, so without further ado, I'm now going to hand over to Andreas. Andreas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm now handing the reins over to you. So over to you.
So, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hello and welcome from my side as well. Thank you for introducing me, Craig. First, I would like to start to mention some of the common use cases for business integrity screening so that you have an idea what it can be used for. Previously, it was called fraud mesh. It was not only possible to do fraud detection with it. They renamed it to business integrity screening. Still, one of the common use cases is fraud detection. So we have typically a conflict of interest, looking for bribery, insurance claims is a big area as well, travel expenses, personal purchase, shell companies. So there's a lot of scenarios for fraud detection, and there's already a variety of detection methods delivered by SAP in this area. But it's not all about fraud detection. You can also do master data and consistency checks. For example, you have customer data in the system, vendor data in the system. You can validate, for example, if the tax ID is entered or missing data, if the tax ID is in the same country that the vendor is located. You can also do checks on your employee data. And this is not about detecting fraud, that we have specific fraud scenarios on the left fraud detection side. This is more to check if data is missing. So someone forgot to enter the data or did incorrect entries. So this can be validated with business integrity screening as well. Then we have, as part of the solution, also partner screening. So business partner screening is part of business integrity screening. You can use third-party screening lists from, for example, Thomson Reuters or Dow Jones, and then check your business partners against the screening list for sanctions to see if you have politically exposed persons within your business partners, or if there's adverse media existing for any of your business partners. And with this section, you can check your actual partners, or you can integrate this process for onboarding of new partners as well. We've also seen other cases at customers where they use business integrity screening. So, for example, for business process KPIs. So, for example, they just want to know how long does it take until an order is approved and then finally paid. So could be an example to look for good processes where it's running very fast and efficiently, but it could also create alerts if this process is taking too much time or a very long time. We have one customer that is using business integrity screening to generate random samples. They have to do a review of, I think it was 10 documents for a specific document type each week. And the system is selecting the documents, and then it can be checked within business integrity screening, documented, and then approved in the business integrity screening tool. I also have other cases for validation of taxes. I've seen customers using it for validation of taxes. I have this as other cases because most of the customers go now with the tax compliance tool, which is a separate tool in the SAP GRC portfolio that is built for the purpose of this. So it's a little bit more efficient than to build these rules within business integrity screening. So I would like to mention the key elements as well of business integrity screening. First of all, we have the design. This is where you define what kind of data you want to analyze. So for example, you want to check if posting has been done on a non-working day, so on the weekend. This could be a very easy check, and this would be a detection method. There's a lot of detection methods already provided by SAP in the standard. I think it's more than 80 detection methods right now, but a lot of customers create their own detection methods because they have more specific scenarios. Then in the setup phase, you use these detection methods to combine them to strategies. Let's take an example for duplicate invoice that we will see in the demo later on as well. We can do a detection method that is checking if two documents have the same vendor. This could be one method. Second one is the two documents have the same amount and same reference. So these are different detection methods, and these are now combined in a detection strategy, and you can put a risk score behind it. All these parameters can be defined in this setup phase where you define your detection strategy. Then the next part is the detection. That is when you execute your detection strategies. So you have defined your strategy for duplicate invoice checks, have defined some thresholds and like a rating for the different detection methods, and now you execute the strategy. One way is, this example was a mass detection. So you run it, for example, daily, that you look, today I have 20 new invoices coming in or 100, and then compare it with other previous ones and see if this is a duplicate. Another option is for other scenarios could be online detection. This would be, for example, we have the payment run integration for S/4HANA with business integrity screening. Then when there are payments outgoing, you can check for specific fraud cases for these payments and even stop these payments. This would be then the online detection. And data screening is specific for business partner screening. That is where you check if there are new sanctioned parties, for example, on the list. Then you do a data screening and check your current existing business partners as well to make sure he's not already in your business partners when he's new to the sanction list. On the left side, we have the investigation. This is the part where most of the end users are working with the solution. When this alert is created, so we have been running the mass detection for duplicate invoice, and there are now alerts created. It needs to be checked if this is really a duplicate invoice or if this is a false positive. So it's two separate documents. This is supported by the network analysis, and you have navigation in this alert to navigate to target systems, and you can do all the documentation and so on in this alert in the investigation part. Then you also have reporting, so you have key performance indicators. You can see the efficiency of your strategies. You can see how many alerts are created, how many are false positives, what are the risk values behind it. All kinds of performance indicators can be seen for business integrity screening. With that, I would like to go to or introduce a demo scenario that we will see in the system. The demo scenario is about duplicate invoices. So as I already mentioned, we have a strategy, and we have different aspects of duplicate invoices that we check. We always compare two invoices and see if they have the same vendor, if they have the same amount, if they have the same reference, if they have the same document, and we even have a negative scoring for reverse documents, so that we do not generate too much false positives. With this set up, and it's running on a daily basis, then the investigator goes into the system as his daily job and checking this his investigation tile in this case to see if there are any alerts to be analyzed. So he's running the analysis, checking, going to the system, can also check the attached documents to the invoices, and then he has to decide if it's a false positive. Then he just closes the alert, and this alert is done. Or if it's not a false positive, then he can define tasks and start a remediation. So just as a side note, this remediation phases, this is a little enhancement that we did in the system. So these 3 tiles that you see, investigation, remediation, and remediation completed, these are just tiles that use the managed alerts app that is available in standard. We've just put a filter on it for a specific workflow phase, and so that you can build up this kind of remediation process. Just that you not look into the standard system, then you will not find this investigation tile, but it's only 2 hours or something to set up these tiles. So when the investigator has defined the task and started the remediation, we go to the processor. This could be in a shared service center where they get an email notification or can see them in the tile as an inbox that they have some alerts to work on. So they go into the system, to, for example, the reverse posting of the duplicate documents, and then send the alert back to the investigator. He can check the completion of the task and then close and document the alert with the financial outcome, and yeah, just say this was a confirmed case and add some more information yeah, to the alert. Okay, so then let's go into the system. And go through this process. So first, I'm Mr. Rossi. I'm the investigator. This was the first tile that we saw. Log on to the system. So we see some standard tiles here, and we see our investigation tile that we saw on the slide before. We have one alert that we need to investigate. So this is a potential duplicate where we need to have a look at. And yeah, we just click on the alert to open it. And there we get all the information on the alert that we need. So we can see that currently the alert lifecycle is not started. To make sure that no one else starts to work on this one, we assign it to ourselves, so assign to me, and then it's starting to in process. We can see some general information, the investigation reason. We want to find duplicate vendor invoice items. We have a risk rating. The risk rating is quite high, but this is customizing. You can define how high the risk rating should be based on the risk factor. We can see the risk value behind it. So this is the amount of the document. And we can see, yeah, the creation date and so on. On the top, we can also see the document reference number, the document entry date. This is customizing, where you can define what kind of data you see here. Important is the detection tab. This is where you can see, again, the risk score and the risk value. But if you click on the detection methods, you can see more details on why this alert is coming up. This looks now quite complicated, but it's not too bad. We have the strategy that we mentioned before as a duplicate invoice detection strategy. And we mentioned that we have different detection methods checking the relation between these 2 documents. For example, we have similar amounts. So we check if the amount is the same in 2 documents. You can also read in the text that these 2 documents are compared. One has this amount and the other one has this amount. And we call it similar amount because it might be that there's little variations by entering it, or if there's a deducted rate if you pay earlier. So that's why you have an input parameter where you can say, if there's 3% variation, I still want this to be a potential hit. We also have similar reference. So the reference number, we had customers that had the requirement that there are sometimes typos. So they want not an exact match of this reference. They want to have, it's like a fuzzy search. So it's it does not need to be an exact match. And you see in this example, we have the reference number. There's a typo in here. You have 96 as a reference in the one document and 69 in the other one. So this can be done with this HANA fuzzy search to also find similar, not only exact matches for references. Then we have, as another detection method, we check the bank data. So we compare the bank data of one document with the one of the bank data of the second document. And if it's the same and the vendor is different, this is also a little bit suspicious. If we have 2 different vendors with the same bank details, if the money is going to the same bank, it could be an indicator that this is a duplicate document as well. So each of these detection methods has a specific risk score. And if the score is above a specific threshold, then there's an alert created. So this is how the logic is working of business integrity screening. So the next part, now we've explained a little bit why this alert is coming up. The next part is more about the investigation. We have this network analysis. This is where the investigator can see the first document. So we always look on a timeline. We have a first document, and then afterwards is a potential duplicate entered. So with similar amounts and depending on these parameters that we saw in the detection. We can also see in the network analysis the vendor connected to this document. You can see that it's vendor number 3035, and to the second document, to potential duplicate, we see that it's vendor number 3022, so it's a different number, but the same name. So it looks like we have a duplicate vendor in the system with the same bank details. So this could be something that is an open task after this analysis as well, to check if these are duplicate vendors, and this can be cleaned up then as well. But now we want to look into the documents or we want to see the details if these two are now really duplicates or not. So we can click on the document and say open document. And then we jump in the target system, like in the ERP system, where we can see the details of the document. We can now open the second one as well, the potential duplicate. And if we have two screens, we can put them next to each other and compare them a little bit easier. But we can see the same information as we saw in the system, that we have this amount, like 4,300 something. And in the second document, we have a little bit less amount. But it's always about looking at the actual invoice. So we can go to this attachment list and look at the real invoice. So we open the invoice. And then we can compare the values. So we see the invoice reference, the invoice number is correct in this one. We see 69, the invoice is correct. We see that there are two different amounts on the invoice, like the one total amount, and there's a discount of 2% if paid within 5 days. And this is the amount of this actual document. So it looks like this one is correctly entered. And if we compare it with the document from the second one, so this is the second one where we have a little bit higher amount, we can go to the attachment list, open the attachment, and there we can, okay, it's not coming up. I think I need to close the other one first. Open again. Yeah, if I open it from the second document, I can see that it's exactly the same document, only that the reference number is entered incorrectly. So there's this typo in the reference number. And for this document, they took not the discounted amount, but the total amount without the discount of 2%. So looking at the documents, we can see, even though the amounts are different, we can see that this is a duplicate document, and we need now to fix this one. So we can go to the documentation, say we want to create a task, reverse posting, because we need to reverse the second one. Say due date is maybe next week. Reverse posting document something, and then save. And now we have documented what needs to be done, and now we want to start the remediation. So we have, therefore, we have an action where we click on the action and say start remediation. With that, the phase is changing from investigation to remediation, and the alert is not assigned to us anymore. So if we go now back to the home screen, we can see that there's no investigation due for us. So now it's up to the processor to work on this remediation. So we sign out, log on with the processor. And here we can now see that we have this remediation tile. We also configure that there's an email sent out, but I think we do not have time to look into the emails as well. If we open now this remediation alert, we see the same alert. And when we click on it, this, if I'm working now in the shared service center, I pick this one for me so that everyone else knows I'm working on this one. And we can see all the same details that the investigator saw before. And we can see in the documentation that we should reverse the posting. So we could now go into network analysis, jump to the document, reverse the posting. And once that is done, we can mark this task as completed. So we just click here and then task has been completed and documented. So now we can send it back to the investigator. So we can mark it as remediation completed. And with that, this remediation process is done. And yeah, from the fixing of from this alert, now we need to log on with the investigator. And we can confirm or check that this is really completed. See. Yeah, we now see that there's one alert in the remediation completed tile. So we can open up this alert again. We see in the documentation that the task was completed. We could now go back into the system, jump into the system and see if the reverse posting is created. And then we can, we need to assign the alert to ourselves, and then we can close the alert. So we just say completed. So we can write something like confirmed duplicate invoice, remediation completed, something like that. And then we can enter a risk value so that we know what kind of risk was behind it. This is the risk value from the document, and click on save. And with that, the alert itself is completed. We have done the remediation, and with that, we are done with this alert. So, and this was what I want to show, because it's very, very often nice to see in the system the look and feel, how an alert is looking like, to get some better impression than when I talk 20 minutes about just some slides. And I think the next part is to see if there are some questions open.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Andreas. So we do have a couple of questions. Just before I go through those, if you do want to ask a question, you've still got time. You can submit a question either by raising your hand, or you can submit via the chat panel or the question panel in front of you. So first, Andreas, if I can ask you this question that's come in. So is there a way to route the task to specific processes depending on attributes of the strategy, in brackets organization, comma, process, stroke, sub-process?
So what I've seen at customers is that they have, for different strategies, you have different investigation reasons. And with these kind of tiles, you can always filter for specific investigation reasons, and so that everyone can only see the investigate for a specific strategy, the investigation reason, and there's a filter for it, so that you can only see these alerts. And if you're the processor for different business processes, you go into your tile and you only see the alerts relevant for that process.
Okay. Another question, how do you set up pre-configured alerts?
I do not really, how to set pre-configured alerts. I don't know what that means from the question. So pre-configured, so alerts are generated by the detection strategy. So you define logic, like in this duplicate invoice example, you define the logic, how or when an alert should be created. And it's created. Yeah.
Dirk asked the question, just come back with a couple more points on that. So just to add to it, are there SAP defaults delivered out of the box?
Yes. So there are not alerts delivered, but there are detection methods delivered. They will create alerts. So that's why what I mentioned during the presentation, that I think there are around 80 different detection methods delivered, and these can be combined into detection strategies and then used for this alert generation.
Okay, yeah, perfect. We just had another question as well. So can BIS be used during master data setup process, i.e. customers' contracts in SD, to check if they are duplicates?
Basically, if you have the data in the table somewhere, you can sync the data into the BIS and then do all kind of master data checks. You are not able to change anything in the systems. It's just that the system is reading, and then whatever information you have in the tables that can be checked, and then alerts can be generated for it.
Okay, and we just had another question come in. So how does BIS integrate with process controls?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think on the roadmap there is some further integration, but right now, how I see it is that with process control, you have you already know what kind of checks you want to do, and you have you can automate them within process control, and also do automatic controls and checks. But they are somehow limited to a number of joins that you can do within the target systems, and this BIS is a little bit more flexible, so you can analyze all kind of data. You can also connect non-SAP systems, sync the data into the systems. So a BIS could be the point where you execute the actual control is documented in process control, and you execute this control within BIS.
Okay. The questions are coming in thick and fast. So we've got one more, if that's okay, Andreas. So we may have covered this slightly, but BIS on HANA only, or just on normal ECC?
No, BIS is only supported on HANA database. So to be able to analyze these big amounts of data, it's only possible based on HANA.
Okay. I think the last question then, how is it possible to optimize the strategy in terms of efficiency to avoid the false positives that you talked about?
So it's possible to do a calibration of the strategy to optimize your strategy. Do we have 2 more minutes to show it in the system as well, or?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm
okay.
sure if people need to leave, they'll do so. But let me just.
Okay. So you have if you have false positives generated, or you have a high amount of false positives, you want to avoid that. So I have to share my screen.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So on the strategy I mentioned, you put some parameters behind it, and these parameters can be changed. To optimize the strategy. So let me just open the strategy for duplicate invoices. So we have duplicate invoice strategy. And under detection methods, you can see that you have different methods with different rating factors, and these can be calibrated. So if we open the calibration, we can see how many alerts are there historically. So you can see that historically we have 7 confirmed alerts and 19 false positives, which leads to an efficiency of 27%. Now we can play around with these parameters. For example, we have reverse documents existing with -10 as a negative score. If we want to make sure that no document is coming up with any reverse documents existing, we can increase this amount, start the simulation, and now it's checking on this historical data how many alerts would be coming up. So you can see that now we have 2 less false positives, so less time that we need to investigate alerts that are false positives. It's better if you have as less false positives as possible. And you can also play around with the threshold. So the detection methods sum up to a threshold. And if we increase the threshold, for example, then we can see that we are even more efficient. So here we have 47% efficiency now. So we only have 7 confirmed for fraud cases and 8 false positives. So this is how you can play around with your detection strategy once you have used it for some time, and then calibrate your settings. So your input parameters. You could also play around with this fuzzy parameter for the similar reference, or with the percent range for your similar amount detection method. So this is how you can play around with your data and try to find the best setup for your detection strategy. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Andreas. Yeah, so we just got one final question, if that's okay. I think we've probably just got time for this one. So, yep. Can BIS be used in sales order processing to check if a customer doesn't submit a sales order each day, i.e., in terms of missing orders or lost revenue?
That's a good question. So if he's not submitting anything, so if there's no data in the table, it's yeah, but it still can. If he has to submit something every day, it would be probably a little bit more complicated detection method, but it's probably also possible to build this kind of setup. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm just conscious of time, so let's look to wrap up. But thank you, Andreas, once again, and thanks for taking us through all those questions. That was really great. So just before we do go, to let you know that we will be attending a couple of events in October. So the SAP GRC conference with SAP Insider in Prague on the 16th to the 18th of October, and we'll also be at the CSX Europe event later in the month. So if you're attending those events, then please do come and talk to us. We'd love to meet up and have a chat. Our next guest webinar will be focused on identity and access management with IDM specialist Sal Point. That will take place in the first week in October, and registration will be open from next Monday. As always, please do check out our resources section on our website. So you'll find plenty of useful guides and comprehensive information to help you with your SAP GRC journey. But without any more chat, I think the best thing to do is wrap up there and say thank you, Andreas, once again for taking the time to run the session, and thanks to you for listening, and we do hope to see you again on our next session.